So, on that subject of how to find your best self, let's talk a bit about coping strategies. So you talked a bit about how you're an artsy person and how painting's been kind of an outlet for you. But like, what are your main go-tos for if you feel like something is starting to go downhill or you just need a respite from all the stress and work that's going on around you?
Um, Oftentimes I do a lot of deep breathing and just like taking a step back from
That's a
a
good
situation and just looking at it from a different perspective, which can be really hard sometimes. But looking at it from an overview and trying to analyze everything happening and what factors you can control or attempt to control and what you can't, but you can sort of cushion.
Yeah.
If that makes
Take
sense.
as much emotion as you can out of it and just look at what is actually happening here, not what is the worst of the worst that I'm envisioning in myself is what's going on.
Exactly. Um, and like something that's really important is drinking water and like making sure you've had something to eat also, because that can be a big factor in your mood or your your physical attitude. And
Hmm.
um, something that, even if it's just like one sip of water or like a bite from a granola bar or something like that, like it's it helps a lot. And I know it sounds kind of dumb and like very basic, but something like that helps a lot. And getting a little bit of fresh air also, if
Hmm.
that's available, is can help a lot. And just kind of having that in and out, and it's just all letting it wash through you. Like,
Especially as dancers, eating and drinking is important, guys. Do that. But then
yeah,
also, like, definitely, especially like, you know how when you've been inside sick or whatever, like for me, one of my favorite things to do after I've been sick is go outside after it's rained, which I mean, you can't control when it rains and whether or not you've been sick, but like when you can just go outside and just be like, this is nice. I like this. Just fill your lungs with as much fresh air as possible because you've been stuck inside sick and it's just horrible. But then also just moving in general, like whether you're an athlete or not, just because I know for me, it's like, especially cross training is not only important as dancers, but just that exercising in general, especially if you do it at the start of the day, it does so much to your mental energy for the rest of the day. It's like, I know there's a very obvious difference for me in a day I have when I have worked out in the morning and when I haven't. I'm so much more productive and so much more energized. I'm so much more positive,
yeah,
especially because like when you get up and you go to exercise, it minimizes the time you spend laying in bed doing nothing, like scrolling through your phone or just laying in bed doing nothing. It's like I do that a lot. It's like if I don't get up with my alarm and work out, I'm just in my bed for an hour watching YouTube or whatever. And YouTube is a fine coping skill, just one that you probably shouldn't rely on entirely because that turns into depression of hiding in your room watching
hmm
for hours at a time.
yeah. It's really important to get out of somewhere, even if it's
Hmm.
just out of your bed and out of your room.
Yeah.
It's important to have that sort of break from where you have been so depressed or
Yeah.
been locked away. Because then you feel like you're stuck,
Hmm.
and you can't get out of it if you
Yeah.
stay in the same place.
Your brain definitely attributes certain emotions to certain places. Like
Hmm
if you are depressed and in that depression you've just been like living in your room, then if you want to be less depressed, get out of your room. Even if it's like just down the hallway or just you sit downstairs in the living room doing the same thing you were doing in your room, but just not in there by yourself. It can do so much. And
Yeah.
like open a window, pull the shade up, like
hmm
let the sun in. There's anything to change your environment. Clean your room. I do that when I'm depressed. It makes me feel happy. I usually do it to procrastinate, but I enjoy cleaning my room. It's like my room is a great testament to my mental state. Like if my room is trash, my brain is probably not great.
hmm
Like I am much more particular about what my room looks like when I feel good.
hmm And that's something that I struggled with for most of my life. My room was always terrible. Like my last bedroom, I just barely moved into a new house with some friends like a couple weeks ago, but my old bedroom and my parents' home looked like an episode of Hoarders. Like I was so mentally ill. All I did was lay in bed. I like ate in bed. I took care of like dishes and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was something that always bothered me, as if I had like actual dishes in my room.
That's a
But
step beyond me. I don't care. I like had 3 days worth of dishes.
I'll have like like cups in there for a couple days and then I'll take them out. But I always had wrappers and garbage and like
Mm-hmm.
if I went shopping, or I always had like tons of garbage from school and stuff like that. I just empty out my backpack and it was just there. And I had a lot of clothes that I never wore, but they were given to me, or hand-me-downs or things like that I never once wore, but they were just there because I couldn't get rid of them because I wasn't in the right state to do that. And so I was always like extremely embarrassed about that, which was something that also made it a problem because I just cooped myself up. Like I couldn't take care of this because like if I asked for help, which I definitely needed at the point that it was at, then I was so worried that someone was going to tell other people about it or have problems with it. And over this past year, actually, I have not only been able to ask for help and take that step, but use the help when it's been offered to me, whether it's by my parents or a friend. And that's something I was never able to do. And in my new room, and I've been here, it was really messy when I first started moving in, but like I've kept it clean, everything put away. Like I clean it almost every day and just pick up things, which is important to do because just picking up a few things and noticing little things, which is something I never did before because I was so inside of my head.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm very particular about a lot of things. And I had always wanted to be, but I was unable to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so cool to just be like, because it is kind of like that snowball effect, right? It's like you look down the mountain and it's so long and so high, and you're like, there's no way I can ever do any of this. But you just make that little snowball of picking up a couple things and you start rolling it down the hill. And the next thing you know, you've cleaned your entire room and you're vacuuming and dusting, and you've never dusted in your life. And your parents are like, what are you doing? And it's like, I feel good now. So they're like, but I don't want to clean my room. It's boring. It's like, put on some music. There's
Yeah.
like nothing better than just jamming out. Like I accidentally had an NSYNC party in here and my dad was like, what are you doing? It's like, vacuuming. Definitely not.
Cleaning,
Duh. And then, but just in general, music is always my go-to coping skill. And that's why on my channel, they're like, the only songs I have are like, you can do this. Like I have Warrior, I have Skyscraper, and then this week I'm going to record Stronger. And those were like 3 of my, like, I feel awful, I need to listen to some music. So I put on, basically, it was just those 3. And if you haven't checked them out, you should go do that. Casual plug. But yeah, music can be so important. My counselor at the hospital, she was a music counselor. And I was like, this is great. Where have you been my entire life? That's another thing, is like finding someone you can talk to. They have to be the right person. Like you can't just talk to someone just because you know them or just because they're your parents. It's like, I mean, my relationship with my parents is fine, but they've always terrified me. Not like because of any particular reason, just like
with authority figures.
yeah.
Like
So
that.
like I couldn't talk to my parents about anything. Not because I didn't love them, just because I wasn't comfortable. So I had to find, for me, that counselor at the hospital was the first person I felt like I could really be myself with, because she was also a music person. It's like, I can sing Broadway around you and you won't think I'm weird. This is awesome.
Yeah.
So that was, at one point in my stay, I was the only adolescent there, and she's the adolescent counselor. I was the only adolescent, so we spent the whole morning part of the session just singing, and it was awesome. I had so much fun. I really should do that more often. But it's just singing like all the random songs I knew, pop songs, soul songs, Broadway songs. It was so fun. I did that, and she's like, "Why don't you sing around the house?" And it's like, "Because I don't want my parents to think I'm weird." Like,
Mhm.
you need to sing more because this is your outlet, sis. And so that's part of the reason there's so much music on my channel, is because music helps me, and I need all the help I can get. So music
Absolutely.
is one of my favorites. Another one that I like never thought of, but this was my counselor's favorite coping skill, is taking a shower.
Hmm.
Because showers are like such a nice way to reset. It's like she
Yeah.
calls it cleaning off the outside and also cleaning out the inside, and I love that.
Mhm.
It's like showers, whether you do them in the morning or not. Like I've actually done that like a couple of times. Like I feel awful, I'm just gonna go take a shower. It's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't care. I'm taking a shower.
Mhm.
And I know when I was inpatient, like because I wasn't worried about my parents paying the water bill, I was literally in the shower for like an hour. I was just
Mhm.
jamming. I was my only roommate at the time, so I was singing as loud as I want. It
Mhm.
was fun. There was a
Yeah.
lot of singing in the shower.
Yeah. The thing, like, I feel like that's funny how like different it was. Like for each of the programs that we were in,
Hmm.
I when I was inpatient, we had like I we all had our own rooms. But in mine, our showers were timed, and like they
Ooh.
came and checked on us at every certain point, and like we all had to be in the shower at one point and out of the shower, like or like you told them you were showering, and then they like checked things and they checked in on you. Um, and so I wasn't allowed to have that. But then when I came home, I like it was always such a relief to be able to shower.
Hmm.
And like there were points like at the height of my depression where I didn't shower for like 3 days, which is disgusting. But I didn't
I mean,
shower,
I've gone longer, so I can't talk about you.
dance, and then school all day, and like other activities and things like that. And I just didn't shower. Like I made sure like I wasn't dirty, like
Hmm.
or anything, but I couldn't shower. And then as soon as I did, I always felt better.
Yeah,
And it's hard to shower in the morning sometimes depending on your schedule.
yeah,
Morning showers honestly are the best thing.
they
Like,
really are. Especially if you had like kind of a, I mean, if you had a not so great day and you can take it at night, I would recommend that. But if like whatever reason you were just in your head all night and you wake up not feeling so great, just jump in the shower. Like
mm-hmm,
honestly, you'll feel so much better.
yeah.
And maybe you need to have that dance performance or whatever. It's like,
Mhm.
hey, you're in the shower by yourself. No one can see you.
Yeah.
People might
Like,
be able to hear you, but I mean, they can't yell at you because you're in the shower. So,
when like my roommates here, even like they turn their music on in the shower. I turn mine on. Like everybody can hear it, and they're like, "Oh, they're just in the shower. Like they're having fun. Like it's their time. Like you respect that, and it's your personal time to be in the shower and
hmm,
feel good about yourself and take care of yourself in that way."
yeah, that's another good important coping skill is self-care. It's like you can take time to treat yourself good. It's
Mhm.
not illegal.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially as dancers, I think, especially as dancers and women, I think like we're geared towards being people pleasers. It's like, oh, you have to feel good before I'm allowed to feel good. And
Mhm.
I'm going to put all my energy into making sure you're okay. And then maybe I'll take like 2 minutes to go use the bathroom or something, and then I'll be back.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so, like, that's why showers are fun self care. If you can take a bath, I can't take a bath because our bathtub leaks and it's depressing because I really want to take a bath. Um, especially like I want an Epsom salt soak. That's a great one for dancers.
Mhm.
Um, you can like put on makeup, like
Mhm.
even if it's not something you usually wear. Because like the only reason I put on makeup since quarantine started basically is recording. But just
Mhm.
the act of putting on makeup, it makes me feel so much better. It's like I like to be an artist when I put on makeup. Like I mix all the colors and stuff. Like you can't. It's
Yeah.
horrible camera. You can't. But
I mean, you look beautiful. Like I always admire that. And when you did your makeup for the performance, like it was gorgeous.
thank you.
You're welcome.
It's like the first time I done it, like 2 months, and I was like making things up, and no, don't remember how to put makeup on.
I totally get that. Like it's trial and error, and like I always, when I do my makeup and I have time to just like do it how I want to do it, and like
Mm-hmm.
just however, like why not? I look on Pinterest and I'm like, oh, I could use that. I could do those ideas. And I also look at skincare for yourself and things like that. That's really important because most of the time after you take care of your skin, then you'll feel better and refreshed.
Yeah. Like, if you don't have time to do that shower, just wash your face.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not even, it doesn't have to be that cold to wake yourself up in the morning. It can be a nice, warm, cover yourself in that soap, and then as you rinse it off, just rinse out all that negativity and just get ready to be a positive, productive person.
Exactly. Like it's so important to take care of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
even though like it's hard to sometimes and to give yourself that time.
Yeah.
And because we are, I feel like a lot of us are people pleasers and we do things for other people and take care of other people before we rather take care of ourselves.
Yeah. You spend all day, every day trying to get someone to give you that was a good job.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of get into that space. It's like, my job is to make everyone around me happy, and how I feel isn't really important as long as they're happy, which I think is how a lot of dancers get injured, is not taking that time to
Mm-hmm.
self-care. I mean, like, especially like if you are feeling something's off, like say your ankle, it feels weird, but then your teacher is like, all right, we're going to do swan lake and we're all going to do 32 fuetes on your bad ankle. It's like, you
Mm-hmm.
should say, it's like, hey, I really don't think that's going to be a good idea for me. I'm going to sit this one out, as opposed to doing that, well, they're my teacher and I have to do what they say, so let me go try this, and then you're out for 6 months because you can't walk.
Mm-hmm. Well, and a lot of us are very lucky now with how like classes are and teachers are now most of the time that yeah, go ahead and take a little break, take care of yourself, make sure you're rested, make sure everything's okay, go to the doctor if you need to. Like don't exacerbate something or an injury or whatever. But a lot of us would rather just be in pain and not talk about it.
Yeah. For the most part, you can tell your teacher if something feels bad. And if you feel like you are trying to tell your teacher and they're not listening to you, and like you've told them repeatedly this isn't okay, if you have the option, switch schools. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's never okay for someone to make you feel like you can't talk to them about a real problem you're having, especially with something as important as your body.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you want to be able to continue to walk after your dance career is over. And if your
Mm-hmm.
dance career ends in the next 2 months because your teacher wouldn't let you sit out the class when you literally had a fractured foot, well, no, that's not going to be better for anyone, because, I mean, they don't get anything from you breaking your foot.
Mm-hmm. And like a lot of things that I was struggling with a certain teacher for years, um, several other girls started to struggle with too, like body image. And then one particular teacher was pushing us further than we could go. And even though we had been, like, we had voiced that we were in pain or it didn't feel right or we didn't know how to do something, it was no, keep going, keep going, keep going. And there are points where you have to just push through and you just have to. But when we were in such pain or feeling so upset about things, like initiative had to be taken. And so, like, it was really nerve wracking, but we went to my director's home and made an appointment with her to speak to her about this. And things improved immensely after this meeting. And she talked to the teacher. The teacher apologized for multiple behaviors and changed drastically. And it had been that way until COVID and classes were canceled, unfortunately. But also fortunately, because I feel like that would have been worse if they hadn't been.
Yeah.
um, like it's hard to do, and talking to someone about that and bringing up something, but it's a very important thing to recognize when something
Mm-hmm.
is wrong
Yeah.
and to take care of it.
You learn to tell the difference between good pain and bad pain, and you address it accordingly. Like, if you haven't worn your point shoes in a couple months and your feet hurt, that's not an excuse to skip class, because you skipping class is not going to make your point shoes hurt less. It's going to make them hurt more next time. Trust
Mm-hmm.
me, I've done it before. It's a horrible decision.
Yeah.
But, like, if you are actually in real pain, it's okay to tell someone, take care of yourself, especially, like, when you're depressed. it can be dangerous to keep dancing because when you don't care about things, you don't care. And when you don't care, you don't take care.
Mm-hmm.
And you end up with worse technique. And that's how you end up injured. Like, I know one of my teachers, she's amazing. I'm really sad she left the school because I'm going to miss her so much. But she noticed when I was depressed. Like, she could tell something was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And she was really nice. Like, I'm a horrible student when I'm depressed. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so awful. Like, looking back on it, I realized how awful like at the time I just felt horrible. But looking back, I'm like, wow, I was not being a good student at all. And like, she didn't harass me about it. Like, I would skip out on balances or whatever, or I would just stop dancing in the middle of a combination, or and I mean, like, not because like I wouldn't just stop and stand there, but I'd be like, I'm so tired and I don't want to do anything, so I'm just gonna stretch my hip out instead of holding this 8 count balance because I don't want to, and also I'm tired. Um, so things like that. Because I mean, when you're depressed, you're not eating well. You're probably just laying around, so your body's not getting that good movement. So, like when you're not healthy, you don't dance well, and things like injuries, like when you're jumping and your calves are tired and your ankles are tired, and you're not using that proper technique and rolling through, and then also plie. Plies don't happen when you're tired, and plies are very important.
Mm-hmm.
You should use that plie. But yeah, so taking care of yourself, eating food, good food,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're depressed, is hard. But
Like, it's okay to eat poorly once in a while, like
yeah,
have junk food.
hmm
But like make sure that you're eating things that are good for you.
yeah,
And even just eating in general is very good. It's very important to
yeah.
keep your body fueled.
hmm Like, it's okay to indulge every once in a while. Like, you can eat that half pint of ice cream. You won't die. Don't do it right before class, or you might die. But like after you come home, if you're like, ugh, that was a rough class, I think I deserve this half a chocolate bar. Like, you'll live. You'll be
Yeah.
fine. And that was one of the things for me is I've never been the skinny mini. Like, I don't have the ballerina body, and
Mhm.
that's another one of the things that got into my head and got me depressed. Because like basically everyone else in my class was that, and I was like so jealous. Like, they got these gorgeous feet and hyperextended legs, and I am tall. I have that going for me, but that's like it. I've got the hyperextension, but not the feet, so it's just a struggle. Um, so I did. I didn't have an eating disorder, but for like a couple weeks before I went to the hospital, I was binging and purging a little. Like,
Mhm.
I had started this drama group that lasted for like 3 months because I was basically the only one who was really into it, and we had what was supposed to be our first show, but like no one really came. So I acted like I was fine and happy, and we had bought snacks, and because no one was there, all the snacks were still here. So we brought all the snacks home, and I ate as many of the snacks as I could stomach, and then I went and threw up.
Yeah.
So that wasn't good. Don't do that. But it's okay to, especially when you're depressed, it's hard to, when I'm depressed, I either don't eat or I only eat junk food,
Mhm.
which isn't good either case. Like,
Yeah.
I know you don't want to, but just try to find something that's at least relatively nutritious. And if you don't feel like eating, just drink that water.
Mhm.
Water's great. Water flushes you out. It can, and honestly, your brain works better when you have water because you're
Mhm.
70% water. You should
Yeah.
drink water.
It's very important to be hydrated, and like eating in moderation is important. Like
hmm
you can like absolutely have some chocolate, absolutely have like I don't know, like chicken nuggets, whatever. Like you can have some, but make sure that you are also getting proper nutrients because like I'm extremely anemic because I didn't eat and I struggle with eating still, but I've been trying to eat more and
hmm
I don't count my calories anymore. But I eat spinach. I make like little sandwiches on bagels with ham and cheese and hummus. Like
Ooh, that sounds good.
it's really easy to do, even
hmm
like it's pretty cheap also. If you just buy it and like have one every other day or every day. Like
hmm
it's super easy, it's quick, like it's just hard to get that motivation initially.
Yeah.
And
And eating healthy looks different for everyone,
mhm,
especially if you have had an eating disorder. Like
mhm,
for someone with anorexia, you would need to eat more. If you were someone on the opposite end of the spectrum, not eat less, but eat better.
mhm,
Um, because like I was never, you couldn't define me as anorexic because I wasn't restricting for often enough. I'd restrict for like a day and then I'd binge for like 3 days. So that doesn't really count as anorexic. But I wasn't actually bulimic because I only purged like twice. So I did have a weird emotional eating disorder, which is another depression thing that happens. But
mhm. So you're
just,
still on the spectrum,
yeah,
just not like an official fitting in a box.
yeah. And thankfully, it's not been as bad recently since I started surrounding myself with better people and just people who help me realize that, yeah, I am enough.
Mhm,
Um, but if you need the extra help, you should definitely talk to your doctor about it. It's like something weird is happening. I'm either not feeling like I have enough energy to get through the day,
mhm,
or I feel like I'm not eating enough. My parents are concerned. Is like, is there anything we can do? Do I need to see a nutritionist? Like, don't be afraid to be creative. Like, there are ways to take something that is super healthy and maybe like unattractive just because it's healthy, and make it taste delicious. Like,
mhm,
there are so many different ways to have carrots. Like,
mhm.
it's not even like so many. And like, I love carrots. So I could just have carrots a different way every day that we can find.
Yeah,
Um,
like
and don't be
pretty
afraid to
much,
experiment.
yeah. Like it's just it takes a lot of again trial and error and figuring out what you like and what your taste in things is also because like I don't like tomatoes. Um, but when I was younger, like I love cherry tomatoes, but I hate when they're cooked or sliced or prepared in any way. So I would just buy like a thing of cherry tomatoes, or we had them in our garden, and I would eat those to get those nutrients versus like having them on a sandwich. Um, like I love like spinach and I love like hummus and cheese and meats and things like that that are like basic food groups.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you find a way to put them together that you like, you can have everything in your daily vitamins that you need, pretty much.
Yeah. Like,
And
don't, you can have just like, and this is actually probably a good idea, especially if you find that you tend to get depressed, just have this list of your favorite meals or dishes. Make sure you have some simple, easy to throw together ones on there. And
mm-hmm,
then if you are, like, if you've been at dance all day and you're tired or you just don't feel like you have the energy, you could just grab one of those and be like, okay, I'm gonna have this. And
mm-hmm,
if you are depressed, then you can just, hopefully if you're depressed, not living by yourself, just give them to someone else who lives with you and say, and have them have that, so that if they know that this is something you'll eat, and then you can get your nutrients, and then you also don't have to worry about, well, they made salad and I don't like salad for whatever reason and I'm not gonna
mm-hmm.
have it, so I'm just gonna starve today.
Yeah, exactly. And that was something that I struggled with was my my mom and my younger brother are both vegetarian, and my dad and I are not. But we don't like we never had meat in the house all the time or anything like that. And so I struggled with a lot of the substitutes for meat
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't like the taste, I didn't like the texture. And then we found a few that I liked, and like my parents made sure that we always had some if we were going to use them. Um, I actually keep some in the fridge here now, but it's like important to have things that you know you like to eat
Mm-hmm.
and that other people know you like to eat.
Yeah,
How,
especially for me, because I have a lot of food allergies, and I
mm,
know when I eat the things I'm not supposed to, like, I get really bad headaches and I just want to lay in my bed and do literally nothing until the headache goes away. So,
mm-hmm,
like, I'm allergic to gluten, cow's milk, and nuts. So, there's so many things I can't eat. So, a lot of times, especially when I'm depressed, that'll lead to just me being like, oh, well, you guys are having mac and cheese or spaghetti or whatever, and I can't eat that. So, I'm just going to go upstairs and lay down because I don't feel good and I
yeah,
don't want to make my own food right now. And I mean, especially it can be hard to find snacks and things. Because like if you're a dancer and you're at rehearsal all day, you want to have some nuts as that pick me up in the middle of the day. I can't do that,
Mhm.
and I hate beans, which is another staple of like beans are good for you. It's like the texture, I can't do it. And
Yeah.
then and there are a lot of the gluten-free bread out there is just it's not it's not
Mhm.
good. It's so sad. I don't know why someone hasn't invented good tasting gluten-free bread yet, but for whatever reason they haven't. But like it's okay to stick to things you know work. Like
Mhm.
when I'm at summer intensives or I know I'm going to be doing a lot of dancing, I have the same breakfast. Like I have half a glass of a fruit smoothie and 2 eggs, and I'll
Mhm.
be fine until like 2 o'clock if I eat that at 8.
Yeah.
So and I do that, and then I have a granola as a snack, and then maybe I'll be able to have some salad or fruit or something for lunch, and then I'll just have like a huge piece of chicken or whatever at dinner. And then I'll have had protein, I'll have had the fruits and veggies, and I'll be fine.
Mhm.
And it's okay for me to do that every day because I know it works and it tastes good. So I'm
Mhm.
not struggling every morning being like, oh, what am I gonna do? Shoot, I'm out of time and I don't know have anything I want to eat. I guess I'll just eat this marshmallow.
Mhm. And like it's just like it's not good for you to just do that. It's really important to find, even if it's literally the same thing every day, it's important to find things that work. And whether that's how you cook something, or like what you cook it with, or how you eat it, or like I don't like eating in the mornings, um, because it's just like I don't feel super great when I do. And so, but I know I have to, so I'll have a yogurt in the morning. Like I have these little like soy milk yogurts, and they're lovely. And I'll just have one, and I'll go to work, and I'll have an apple at work, and maybe a sandwich or something there. And then I'll come home and I'll have dinner. And like I will have been like not drained because I did eat something, even
Hmm.
small. And it's very important to even give yourself like that little bit of energy or nutrients and things like that, because it's hard to function at all when you don't have anything.
Yeah, and you do have to vary it based on how much activity you're going to be doing. Like, you can't just have a couple grapes for breakfast and then expect to be able to dance for 6 hours and be fine. Whereas if you know you don't really need to do anything today, you can have those grapes for breakfast, and then in like a few hours when you actually are hungry, you can have something more substantial or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it is very important to take into account what it is you're doing. And then that also goes the other way. It's like if you know you have to dance, maybe don't have that cheeseburger 20 minutes before class,
Mm-hmm.
but at the end of the day, feel free to reward yourself with that cheeseburger and you'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've got art as coping skill, we've got breathing, showering, food, water, all these important things. Another one of my favorite coping skills is writing. I'm a very creative person, in case you haven't noticed by now. I like to get all that. I have so many stories in my head at any given time, and like most of them I don't write down because I'm editing them constantly, and if I put them down, I feel like they're confined. Um, but since I've started this channel, obviously I have to do a lot more writing. I want to start doing some sketch comedy eventually, so I have to write that. But then just even if you never show it to anybody, just the act of itself, it doesn't even have to be a story. Like start journaling if that's something you don't do. See if
Mm-hmm.
that works for you. You don't have to do it every day. I know I've never been able to write in a diary every day for more than like 4 days in a row. Do it once a week, once every couple weeks, even just once a month to check in with yourself and see what has happened in the last few weeks, what's changed, what's working. Keep a gratitude journal. That's a great way to stay out of your head, especially if been depressed. Um, so yeah, and just the action, if you can, do it on pen and paper because just get yourself off your phone. That can be another thing that helps you get inside your head.
Yeah.
Um, get in touch with the real world. Pens and paper are cool, guys. Trust me, they're awesome. They're not cool for writing 10-page essays, but for an occasional something or just a couple sentences, like I know for me it's like picking one thing to be grateful for, just keep that in your head throughout the day. It
Mm-hmm.
can do so much. It's like anytime you start to be like, oh, well, what was me? Life is horrible. Everyone hates me. It's like, what am I grateful for? I'm grateful for the fact that today when I woke up, the sun was out. And
Mhm.
even if it eventually starts raining, it's like it has to rain for the flowers to grow.
Like,
So,
even if it's the one thing that you're grateful for is today I woke up,
mm-hmm.
it's it's important to recognize that, and like
Because there are
journaling.
a lot of people who don't.
Hmm. And journaling is amazing. Like, it can feel like so relieving to just get something out, and like in a physical way without being physical, like violent or
Yeah.
any like, self-harming or negative vices.
Mm-hmm.
That's another reason why I love like art and things like that, because I could like, I don't know, smash paint onto a canvas
Yes.
and I could paint over it if I hated it.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's something that's relieving in a physical action that's not negative.
Yeah. And if you are in that space where, say, you are angry or you're upset, a lot of times putting it down can, if you're having a hard time communicating it to someone, you can show that to them. Like for a while when I was in therapy, I would show my therapist the stories that I wrote. Like I would take a song that described my mood and I
Mhm.
would write down a lyric and I would create a whole story behind it. And based on what song it was, you could tell what I'm feeling. Like most of them, because I was mostly depressed when I did this, most of them are like really sad breakup songs or whatever. There are a couple in there that are happy love songs, but they're mostly sad love songs. um, because I was feeling very alone at the time. And so that's what all of my journaling looked like, was someone who was really alone.
Yeah.
So, and then if you're angry, you can just write out whatever it is that you're feeling. It's like if you want to hurt someone, and I'm talking like you actually seriously want to, it's like write down who it is, why you're mad at them, and why you're thinking of hurting them. And if you evaluate them, at the end of the day, you can look at it and say, okay, looking at this objectively, I can say this, I'm don't actually need to physically hurt someone. And if you do all that and you feel like you do still hurt someone, get some help, because that's homicidal. It's a real problem. And I know someone who was homicidal, and that's a thing that you actually should take care of. But that I don't think people talk about as much as suicidal, because you feel like no one actually wants to kill someone. It's like, yeah, there are
Mhm.
some people who do feel that way. And if you know someone like that, you should talk to them and see if you can get them some help. Obviously, keep yourself safe
Yeah.
if you feel like that is an issue, but that's definitely not something that should be overlooked on the spectrum.
Definitely. Um, like I feel like a lot of things like self-harm is immediately put into a box with mental health and depression and things like that. But harming others also kind of gets left out,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, and kind of just set to the side of this big box and room of mental disorders and everything like that. Like, it's kind of just not talked about at all. And there are a lot of um, like anger disorders and like even like I know several people that I grew up with that had Asperger's that would get violent, or other learning disabilities or misconnections, and where they struggled with social cues and that made them upset
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. And so that's overlooked all the time because it's just put as this specific, they have these problems. But it's never like coordinated with the actual mental health side of it as well. Or like serial killers and homicide and things like that. It happens all the time and it gets overlooked.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is because they're kind of romanticized in TV and film, right? It's like, oh,
Definitely.
well, this is a specific, like sociopaths and psychopaths, they don't really exist unless it's like, yes, you probably know a sociopath and you might know a psychopath. Like, I know a couple sociopaths. I mean, not
Yeah.
that I'd say that to their face because they might get offended, but like,
Like,
it's
but it's
people that
like,
have issues outside of the everyday is like, oh, especially like when you see mental health representations on TV, like a lot of the time they're not done well. They're done based on the stereotype. Like I was watching TV the other day and there was this girl who was supposed to be bipolar. And I was like, that doesn't seem very much like bipolar to me. She seems more schizophrenic.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the idea, it's like, oh, people think bipolar people are the people who just out of nowhere, they just get upset and crazy. And so they want to throw something across the room. It's like, there's so much more to bipolar than that.
There's a whole spectrum.
Yeah.
And it's like TV and movies, social media really only shows one part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so everyone has these ideas, whether you have the disorder or not, it's still categorized as this one thing. And so people think of it as this one thing.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the reason why people don't believe you necessarily if you say something. It's like, oh yeah, no, I'm depressed. It's like, really? You don't seem all that sad to me. It's like, you're fine. Like, if you were depressed, wouldn't you be at home crying? You're not crying right now. Clearly you're fine. It's like, no, I'm crying on the inside.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Listen to people. It's important.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of the reason people end up depressed. It's because no one listens enough.
Check in on your friends.
Yeah. Surround yourself with good friends.
Mm-hmm. Make sure that the people that you care about are safe, and that tell the people that you love them. Make sure that they know that you're there for them.
Yeah, you might think it's just an understood thing. It's like, oh, we've known each other for ages. Saying it out loud can do a lot.
Mm-hmm. And you don't have to like get them a gift or anything, but like making sure, voicing that you care about them, or you're concerned for something if you've noticed something's off, or if like maybe they voiced something that was concerning, that they were upset, or that something happened at home, or something like that. Like, it's easy to just let someone know that you care, even though it might initially be a hard thing to do and reach out. But check in on your friends and your family and the people that you care about, because I know they will appreciate it. Even if they don't respond, or they might like push you away initially or be taken aback by it, like, they would really appreciate it, and people like to know that you care about them.
Yeah.
And a lot of mental illnesses make it hard to accept that. And it's to recognize people do care about me. I do matter. I am important. Like, even if, like, obviously we're all still here for a reason. If there wasn't something that wanted us here, or we didn't have a purpose, we wouldn't be here. Like, none of us really know what that purpose is, but there is one. And even if it's just to live your daily life and make one person smile or do something like that, like, it's the little things that help.
Yeah, and I know that can be hard for guys. Like, we don't show emotion because we're tough dudes, and I can't let anyone know that I'm struggling because then they won't think I'm a dude, and I've got to be a guy, and I can't let anyone in, and no one, you can't say you love me because that's weird and no homo. But like, people want to feel appreciated, even if they act like they don't because they think it's taboo or whatever. Like, no one, unless they do actually have like sociopathy or something, no one actually wants to feel like they can't say they love someone or they can't have someone say they love them. It's like, even if you don't want to say I love you, just be like, hey man, I'm here for you. I appreciate you.
Like, exactly. Like, I say I appreciate you a lot to my friends and people that I care about. And like, even if my friends like haven't done anything, like, they don't have to come over, or they don't have to say like a big speech or a big paragraph or anything like that. They don't have to say or do anything for me to acknowledge that I appreciate them and that they matter. And it's something that is important because people like to know that they're appreciated and that they matter and they're not alone in whatever situation. Whether that's relationships or friendships or your parents or your cousins or your grandparents or whatever, your teachers even. Just like, I appreciate you, and acknowledging little things. even if they may have done something wrong, they could have upset you in some way at some point. I appreciate that you're here now. I appreciate that you are a lovely human being overall.
Yeah, at the end of the day, is it really so important that they stole your pencil in 4th grade? Like, it's
Exactly.
okay. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important to surround yourself with those people who do care, like for real, and they're not just saying that they care because they want something from you. And that those people who will pay attention to you and will take that step to reach out to you when they feel like something is going on or something is off. So, on that note, how do you usually tell, or how can people around you tell that you're about to start going down or something's not quite right?
So something that like I tend to recognize is it's really hard for me to focus,
Mm-hmm.
or sometimes I get shaky. It feels like often something that I recognized was it feels like right before you have a headache.
Mm.
And it's hard to stay calm. It's easy to be overwhelmed by small things. You can get frustrated. Like sometimes your heart will race, like, and then, or people recede, or you tend to disappear or keep to yourself. Like I oftentimes when it gets really bad, I'll just sleep a lot. And so I will, like, I'd go to work, I'd sleep in, and then I'd hurry and get ready for work. I'd go to work, I'd come home, like, and then I'd go to bed. And then I'd wake up if I didn't have dance right after work. And then I'd wake up, maybe eat dinner, and then go back to bed. Like, sleeping a lot is a big thing, and excessive tiredness or feeling like apathetic towards things and just caring. And if a lot of the times, like, people cannot care about things, and like that's fine, and just be like happy-go-lucky and whatever. But there's a difference between that I feel like you can recognize between I really don't care, like I just it is what it is, and I don't care. Like anything can happen. Bad, good, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I know apathy is a huge one for me. It's like dance and music being my 2 main outlets. Like when I'm depressed, I don't really care about either. I'm not singing, I'm probably not listening to music, and if I am, I'm crying, whether it's a sad song or a happy song. If it's sad, because it's sad, and if it's happy, because I feel like I'll never feel happy enough to feel this way ever again. And I know when I was feeling really bad, my brother and me would both need to go out every night because of extracurricular activities. So I'd have to wait for my dad to come home from work, and oftentimes he wouldn't come home early enough for me to be on time to dance. And I wouldn't care because I don't really want to go to class anyway.
Yeah.
And some days I would actually usually hope that he would get home too late for me to be at class. It's like, please take another half hour so I can say it's not worth the drive because I really don't want to go, and no one really cares if I miss anyway. So definitely that. I definitely also, if I am not feeling well, I will live in my room. I am allowed to have my computer in my room now, which is probably a poor decision, but I mean, I'm doing better now. But I'll just live in here, reading, doing nothing, sleeping, probably sleeping. And then I probably won't come out for meals because I'm not hungry because I don't feel good. And I don't talk out loud as much. And then when I'm manic, I'm just doing something all of the time. And I probably will come downstairs at 2 o'clock to get a snack or whatever. You might see me at 6 o'clock doing nothing or playing piano until 4 o'clock in the morning. That's not a thing normal people do. So I mean, these things, everyone shows it in different ways. I would suggest that if it is something that you feel like you struggle with, that you would take note of symptoms that you're having. Like one thing I did when I was starting to cycle through mania and depression, I wrote down the symptoms I was feeling and I put them in a column of depression or mania. It's like the not eating, the feeling really tired and the wanting to cry, and then there was the staying up all night. Even though I was tired, I wouldn't go to sleep. It's like
Mm-hmm.
couldn't sleep, and I was like super anxious, and like my brain is going so fast. It's like not even coherent thoughts, just it's on and it's working. So like I can't really sit down and focus or do anything. But
Yeah.
make a note of things that you notice tend to happen before things start to not be okay,
Mm-hmm.
and write them down. Make sure that someone you trust and who's around you enough to notice these things, they also recognize these symptoms, so that if you are not feeling like you can voice these things to someone, that they'll see it and they'll notice like, oh, I should probably talk to you about it. And if you're not in the space where you can talk to me, then it might be time to get some more outside help.
Yeah. Like it's okay if like they're not in the right headspace or you're not in the right headspace to immediately respond or explain what you're feeling or what's going on in your head. But being able to recognize even just a few things like, oh, I've been in my room all day. I haven't done anything. Oh, I slept for 11 hours today. Like, I, all I did was sit and watch TV and I just sat there. I didn't do anything. Like, did I eat today? Did I drink water? Like, recognizing things like that, even if you can't necessarily change them or feel like like you can change them right then, it's important to recognize and be able to observe these habits or these behaviors that happen when you're feeling a certain way.
Mm-hmm. And things like, especially the things that are obvious to other people, like the not cleaning your room or the not wanting to do things that you usually enjoy,
Mm-hmm.
or like usually if just to spur that productivity, I'll like make a list of things that I want to do today, and if I do all of those things or at least most of those things, I'll count it as being a productive day. And if I make the list and I do maybe 1 out of 6 or 7 things, then I'll be like, okay, something might not be going well because all this stuff could have been done in like inside of an hour or two, and I spent 3 hours procrastinating and I did one thing, and then I either watched TV or went to sleep the rest of the day. So things like that can be useful to the people around you, just to know is like, hey, if my room's messy, it's not just because I'm lazy, it's because my head is also messy and I need some help clearing out the clutter in there too.
Yeah. Like it's okay to ask for help. And that's something that's hard to recognize is like no matter what it's help with, like it's okay to ask for help. And even if help means someone is on the phone with you while you're doing a task, or someone comes and sits on your bed while you clean your room. Like my friend comes over all the time and like she'll ask what I want to do or like what like, where we hang out, whatever. Or like if the other girls can come, like I'm like absolutely come, but I need to clean my room. And then they'll just all come sit on my bed while I clean my room. Like or I'll be running back and forth doing laundry or like just like cleaning or just I'll be sitting there and I painted my wall the other night while two of my friends were over and I just like did that because I needed help but I wasn't able to do it on my own. It
Mm-hmm.
was something that I needed to do by myself but I wanted someone else around.
Yeah.
And
And
like
that's another time where it's cool to have like, if you are in a situation where like, especially in quarantine, if you are living by yourself and no one's allowed to come over, like music can be so useful to feel like you're not by yourself. Cause like that's why I'm so attracted to Demi Lovato, is because like the vast majority of her songs aren't about like sex and drugs and rock and roll or whatever. They're about is like, hey, good people, good things.
mm-hmm,
Like I Love Me, which is her song that came out in March. Yes, March 6th. And it's like been my jam on repeat ever since then. It's like I'm not wearing it right now. I bought myself a ring that I wore on my left ring hand. Not because I'm engaged, but because I Love Me is enough.
mm-hmm,
And one thing she said one time was, if you ever feel like alone or you have no friends, just put on my music and I'll be there with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciated that so much. Was like when I was depressed, I listened to like solely Demi Lovato, and my music counselor was like, "You need to find new music." And I was like, "But I like her music." So, but I do listen to other stuff now. But if you don't feel like you have someone who can come over, just find an artist who you resonate with, not just because you like their music, but because you like them as a person, and
Mm-hmm.
have that on in the background or whatever you're doing. And then you feel like you're hanging out with them, or like a YouTuber that you like, just put on one of their videos, especially if it's like a really long one. You don't even have to be paying attention to it. Just have it on, and then you have that background noise. And if you want to pay attention occasionally, like when something happens, then you can do that.
Yeah.
And then you just don't have to feel like you're alone, but you're also doing something to help you also progress yourself out of that negative headspace.
Mm-hmm. And music is really important for me, because growing up, like I was head on, and the like the connection between dance and music is
Mm-hmm.
very important, and it's very like meaningful for me. My music taste is very diverse, and so it goes from anywhere between like really like emo music to like the Sleeping Beauty soundtrack, like anything. And I love, there are a few artists that I love that their songs are very neutral, like the emotions are both good and bad, or very, it's a very like non, it's a song that I can separate myself from. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't attach my emotions to it. And so I can listen to it and just enjoy the music and not be sad because it's a sad song, or be necessarily super happy because it's a happy song and then be sad when it's off. And
Yeah.
like there are days that I've literally played, like I love One Direction and Harry Styles, like
Yes.
100%.
Sis.
Absolutely. I took my posters down because I was painting my wall, but they will be back up soon. Anyways, I love them, and I always have. And when I'm feeling really bad, like I will literally just say, like, tell my my Google Home to just be like, play shuffle songs by One Direction or by Harry Styles. Like, it's something that always makes me feel better.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter where I am, or like if it's in the car, or even if I'm with my family, like they'll know if I'm playing it. They're like, okay, like she's just having her time.
Yes. When I
Like
say Adore You has been my pick me up this whole quarantine. Like I
yeah.
literally just that's actually one of my favorite albums to listen to while cleaning my room right now is Fine Line. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's so not pop. It's so good. Like I actually don't like mainstream pop. I like pop rock, and I like jazz a lot, and I like Harry's very rock, and I think that's why I like Harry so much.
Harry is very pop indie rock. Like that's
Yes.
his sort of genre without being in a genre.
Yes, and I appreciate that. I think that's why I've never actually listened to the first two 1D albums.
Mm-hmm.
Like I started backwards because I got into the fandom really late. I started backwards. I think Four is still my favorite album, but I've never gone past Midnight Memories because Midnight Memories is like when they started to get out of that boy band pop mold.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why Four and Maybe AM are my favorite because like we're adults and we write our own music and we're gonna write music that we like. And it's like I like this music too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like those are, I love all of their albums, but definitely Four and Made in the AM are like the biggest pick me up albums, because
Mhm.
it feels like they are who they want to be, and or becoming who they want to be. And so that's something that helps you sort of feel like that also.
Yeah.
You
If
feel
you're
like,
ever feeling super low, just play Act My Age by One
mhm.
Direction.
Oh,
Like, you will immediately feel better. It's even better if you have a friend you can dance to it with. I have yet to have someone over that I can dance to Act My Age with, but I converted one of my other friends into a styler/directioner. So someday when quarantine's over, we're gonna have a party.
absolutely.
We should have a video party. Just hang out with One Direction. That's what we should do.
100% do that. Just,
Totally down.
and I'll figure it out.
Cool. Cool. All
Yeah.
right. So that was about it. I think we covered a lot of cool topics for mental health. I think that I learned a lot from you. I hope you guys watching this learned a lot. Um, so let's get into more fun stuff now. So we're dancers, right? And we've been in quarantine, which means we haven't had class. So what have you been doing to kind of like either occupy your time or just keep up with your exercise?
So there, I looked up a lot of ballet classes like online, and some people did like professional dancers or teachers or other dancers posted videos of them going through a class. And I would kind of follow that or just pace myself like, okay, I know I had to do plies and tendus, and I made sure that I always felt good about it and made sure like sometimes it was really like sharp and nice and quick, or other times it was really mushy and like just very soft and feeling good and warm.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to play with artistry while you don't have a teacher telling you exactly what to do.
And so like I followed classes or I did live classes, like I watched them and then followed along, or I did my own classes. And even if I only did part of bar, just so I had some movement. And I hate running, but there have been 4 or 5 times that I've gotten up and I've just ran like a mile and then ran home. Like it's something that like I needed to move. And I was dancing 5 days a week before, and then all of a sudden nothing.
Yeah.
And so just a little bit of movement and even just stretching. There were a couple days where I only stretched, or like when I got home from work. I've been very lucky to be able to still work for most of this. My hours have been cut, which means I have more time to myself and that I've been able to work a little bit more. But like classes and making sure that I'm taking care of my body and stretching and rolling out my body and like making sure everything feels good and the way it should.
And that's especially important if you do have those mental health struggles. Like, you need to keep yourself active even in the middle of all this 4 months of doing literally nothing. I
Mm-hmm.
know for me, that's like one of the problems is because I was so burned out once classes let out for the summer, I didn't move until the Valley West intensive. And then, like, since then, I had another week of intensive with my new school. And then since then, I've been chilling, which is probably why I've started to feel not so great because, like, I know I need to be moving. And I'm at the point where I'm not burned out and I miss dance now. So
Well, and
I'm excited to get back into that.
there's like a point where it's really good to have that break and not do anything for a period of time. But when you are a dancer and like you're used to that extreme physicality and all of these moving all the time, and then you also struggle with mental health, and so then all of a sudden you're shut down and then you feel burned out. And it's
Especially
important.
for me as an extrovert, it's like went from seeing my friends every day to never seeing them, especially since now that I'm switching schools, like I literally am not going to be seeing them anymore. So for a while we were video chatting weekly and that was great. And then we all got busy with our summer stuff and we haven't in a while. And I want to, but we have to coordinate our schedules. So that's going to be a little challenge. But that's
Yeah.
another thing you can do is we're all video chatting like for everything now. Like school is online, like everything's online. It's like it's okay to just those people that you can't see. It's like A, reach out to them and make sure that they're feeling good in this
Mhm.
quarantine. But then B, have a chat with them. And it doesn't have to be like an everyday thing. It's like my
Mhm.
counselor was saying she only talks to her best friend like once a month. Like as long as you do that regular check-in, just to make sure, hey, everybody's cool. All right, cool. It was nice to see another human being.
And like you don't have to keep a constant dialogue with someone
Mhm.
for them to still be your friend, or you just still care about them and them to still reciprocate that with you. And you like don't have to keep that constant dialogue. I see my one specific group of friends and my roommates um, all the time, but we are also several of them work from home. My roommates are in a very controlled environment for their jobs. One of them works from home. We only see each other and our families, and our families only see us and like select few other people. that we're all trying to be safe. And if one of us, like, as soon as one of us feels something's off or anything like that, we all take time apart, and we don't have to be around each other all the time. And like, we've Zoom called a couple times. I Zoom called a couple of my friends that live in other states and so on. And like, we're all very, very blessed to have technology now that we can do this. And also still, like, we are very careful because COVID, and you have to be careful. And we didn't see each other for a long time because we were being very careful, and we all wear masks everywhere. We sanitize, we wash our hands, we shower regularly. Like, if we've been out, like we went to the mall the other day, we all went home and showered separately immediately after. Like, because one of our friends wanted food from a specific store that we have in our mall. And it's no good, but it's just like something, sometimes you just have a craving for it.
Yeah, my sister doesn't have a Chick-fil-A where she's at college, so whenever she's home, she like only eats. But it's fine because my brother also only eats Chick-fil-A, so we go there like all the time. I can't eat there anymore because peanut oil, but it's very expensive.
That's something that, like, I struggle with restaurants too, is because they use so many things that cause food allergies or are food allergens. But then they're like, oh, like, it's still fine, but it's not. They're like,
Yeah, it's
something
sad.
else on the menu, but they use everything in it. But like, it's okay to not see your friends. It's okay to not talk to them every day or all the time. And something that, like, I struggled with was putting my phone down and stopping talking to people, because I had no friends growing up. Like, I had friends here and there, but no consistencies, really. And so I wanted to talk to every different person that I could all the time. And now, like, when it's time for bed, like, I'll just set my phone down. Like, I don't care who texts me, whatever, unless it's like an emergency and I have to answer.
Yeah, before bed, I put my phone on mute, not vibrate, mute. Like, I do not notice if I get anything.
Yeah.
And I have on the if it's face down, I won't get a notification thing. So.
Yeah. And I put it on, like, do not disturb. And
Mm-hmm.
like, I have it so, like, my parents, and my brother, my grandparents, and one of my friends that I talk to, like, the most out of the group, is they're the only ones that I can receive messages or calls from after a certain point or during the night. And like, I don't get notifications, and a lot of the time, honestly, I'll just look at my phone in the morning and I'll have Snapchats or texts or things like that from, like, right when I went to bed, and I won't look at them until after I get off work the next day. Like, I don't need to look at my phone, and that's something that's important to recognize, is like, it's
the world is not gonna end if you don't respond to that text in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Which is why it's so important to have those coping skills that don't involve technology. For if you're in a situation like when I was inpatient, I didn't have a phone or a computer. We had a TV, but it was a communal TV, and it was mostly on SpongeBob. The adults wanted to watch SpongeBob. I don't know why. But you've got all that stuff that doesn't involve technology, so that you can do it like in any situation. Like, say you're driving when like you can't be on your phone. It's like you can turn on the radio and listen to music if that's not going to be super distracting. Like, I have to have music on when I'm driving because for me that occupies the daydream portion of my brain, so I can actually focus on the road. Like, I drive much worse when I don't have music on. And like, I don't think my parents understand that. Like, I don't tell them I have the radio on when I'm driving, but like, I need something to be daydreaming or else bad things are going to happen. But and then it's also important, like you were saying, it's important to be able to pull yourself out of it. It's like, you shouldn't have to, I mean, you should definitely not be by yourself the majority of the time, because that can lead to depression. But if for whatever reason you are by yourself, you should be able to have ways that you can snap yourself out of it and make sure that you are above water, at least until someone else comes who can help you.
Like, there are things that everybody can control a little bit of the situation. But once you like start to feel like you have no control over anything, and that's when it's hard, it can be really difficult. You have to try and take a step back and just analyze what is going on, what triggered you, or what set something off, and what upset you, what's been going on, what in your routine has changed, what in like it's really hard like with social media because people post things and they make other people upset.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something to analyze is, did I see something on social media? Did someone say something that was misconstrued? Like, what exactly happened?
Yeah,
And,
that's why journaling can be so useful because you have it all written down and you can see, oh, this is exactly where things started to not be okay. And then you can take the information from that and use it to benefit yourself in the future.
mm-hmm. And like, it's really easy to start to put your thoughts together if you have them out laid in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the time it's easier to do that if you do it like with pen and paper or colored pencils or markers or
Yeah,
pencils,
you can have fun and be creative with your journaling.
like however it's organized, but it's easier to see it, and I feel like it helps connect things together if everything disconnected.
Yeah, it's really important to take that step back and really look at everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this has been so much fun. I'm so glad I was able to do this with you. Like, honestly, this was such a great talk.
It was amazing. Thank you for having me and like setting this all up and just inviting me, and I have loved every minute of it.
I'm so glad. Well, I have just a series of rapid fire questions just for fun before you go. Some are dance related, some are not. Okay, so number one, what's your favorite season of the year?
Fall.
Ooh, I like
What do you
that.
think?
My birthday's in fall because, yes.
Mine kind of is too, but it's the very end of summer, I guess.
We can count it as fall. The leaves are changing colors, therefore. All right, your top 3 favorite ballets.
Um, Romeo and Juliet, Don Q, and oh, that's so hard.
I know. That's why I didn't make you choose one.
Sleeping Beauty.
Ooh, those are some good ones. Some really nice story ballets. Star Trek or Star Wars?
Oh, that's so hard because I'm both.
Ooh, interesting. Okay, we can stay friends because you like Star Trek.
Because Star Trek, like, I have Star Wars clothes, but I love Star Trek also. So we'll say
All right,
Star
cool.
Wars.
We can stay friends though because you like Star Wars. All my friends who like Star Wars and refuse to watch Star Trek, we're not friends.
I like both.
Yes. Okay. Who's the ballerina or male dancer that you look up to the most?
Honestly, I look up to Becca and Sisk a lot, and I struggle with my back, and I have back issues, and she has scoliosis,
Yes.
and she has worked so hard through it, and she's incredible.
I know. It's amazing. I have scoliosis too, and I'm like, there's no way my back is ever gonna do that. So
But she has worked incredibly hard for this, and like
yeah.
she's still very young,
Mhm.
and it's something that's very inspiring, very amazing to see.
It's so cool that we were able to have her as our teacher. Like
Mm-hmm.
that was such a cool experience. Okay, dark or milk chocolate?
Dark.
Good choice. What's your dream company? I think I know this, but
um Probably Ballet West or American Ballet Theater.
ooh, I like it. What's the last song you listened to?
I think I listened to a song called Atlas by Luke Christopher. It's about like it's kind of weird, but it's like about Atlas carrying the world on his back and like diamonds and pearls like not meaning anything. Like don't carry everything on your shoulders because you don't have that control.
That's nice. I like that. Mine was unsurprisingly One Direction. It was Drag Me Down. I was having a party. It was great.
It's such a good song.
I know. I was just obsessing over Harry's high note.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. What's your dream dance role?
I always wanted to be the fairy godmother in Sleeping Beauty because I loved that transition when she was like not the fairy godmother and then all of a sudden like she's this beautiful thing, and there's several beautiful like small parts where she does the solos, and then I feel like also Emeralds was a big one for me.
Yes.
And I was working really hard on one of the Diamonds variations from Sleeping Beauty. And so that was one that I feel like all of those the gems and everything like that are like dreams for me.
I could totally see you doing all of those. It'd be so cool to watch. All right. Are you a cat person or a dog person?
I'm a cat person.
Yes. We're so great friends. This is awesome. What's the first ballet you ever saw?
I think it was the Nutcracker.
Yeah. I think that's like everyone's either Nutcracker or Swan Lake, unless you were lucky enough to be in the ballet world before you saw Nutcracker.
I never got in when I was younger. I was too tall to be a clown. I was too short to be a party girl, and then I was a little Russian child one year, and when I first got in, and I think I first saw the Nutcracker when I started doing ballet because it was the local company. My parents wanted to take me and I wanted to go, and so we went, and I absolutely loved it. And so I think that was part of what made me like really want to do ballet specifically. So yeah. I think it was the Nutcracker.
I know Nutcracker does that for a lot of people. I know I'd been obsessed with dance for like 4 years before I got to see Nutcracker. I think it was Pennsylvania ballet touring, but I was 6. I don't remember anything. I remember the ticket, and I remember I wore my favorite velvet dress, and I remember being concerned that Sugar Plum was going to slip on the snow. That's like the only thing I remember.
My dress was velvet too when I went.
Ah, cool. For twinsies.
Yay.
All right, last and most importantly, is a hot dog a sandwich?
No.
Good answer. Okay, cool. Yay.
A hamburger is a sandwich. A hot dog is not a sandwich.
This is spilling the tea. See? Facts, people. Facts.
Because it's just one thing. It's not two pieces.
Yes. This is my logic. And then other people are like, no, it's a taco. It's like, I mean, sure, I guess, but also no. Doesn't the taco have to be crunchy? I say a taco has to be crunchy.
I think tacos are in a whole different genre.
Tacos are tacos. Then you have hot dogs. And then there's sandwiches. Well, that was all I had. Again, thank you so much for coming. This was so enjoyable.
Thank you for having me. I had a great time.
Absolutely. Anytime, anytime. If you guys enjoyed this talk, be sure to let us know. Leave a like in the video so that I know to make more content like this in the future. And remember, if you ever need to talk to anyone, people exist. I'm going to leave a link to the suicide prevention hotline in the description because the day this comes out, it is Suicide Prevention Awareness Week. So if any of you guys are struggling or you do feel like you've reached that bottom, be sure to click it, talk to someone. I'm here if you want. You can check out my website, leave me a chat message. I'll respond to you as soon as I can. And just remember that you're not alone. There are other people going through the same things. And hopefully this talk was able to help you realize some things and give you some hope that it is possible to come back from what seems like a really bad situation. So
you, Julia.
yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed meeting the lovely Piper. I enjoyed having you here. Do you have any socials? Where can people find you?
I do. I have Instagram and Facebook, and you can link those as well, and I'll send those for you. But I have loved being here. It was very nice to be able to have such a fantastic discussion about mental health and dance and everything related with that, with someone that I care about and that's a fellow dancer and also is deals with these things on a daily basis.
Yeah,
So
it's
I
so cool to have an open dialogue about this because it's again something that's just now becoming okay to talk about. It's like it was such a secret. It's like, no, mental health isn't real. You're just sad. It's like,
it's
yeah, I
been a
am sad.
very taboo subject for a long time, and I feel like these things are so important. And for everyone watching, like, please don't feel afraid to reach out to anyone, like family, friends, us. Like I had said about social media, I'm not on it very often, but if I get a message, I do look at them, and I do try to respond, and especially if it's something about mental health or important, then it's something that helps me as well and
Mm-hmm.
helps me feel better and feel like I'm also making a difference. So
Yeah, and it can be especially if you feel like you can't just talk to anyone because they don't understand, then someone who has gone through these things and is currently like it's an ongoing process. You're never going to be cured of a mental illness,
mm-hmm.
but you can continue to learn and grow and hopefully reach that place of balance where you're okay. That's the
Yep.
end goal, is that you'll be okay and you can be the best version of yourself. And always remember that I love me is enough. At the end of the day, I love me is most important. I'll put a link to the song down below. I'm not doing a cover yet because I did way too much Demi Lovato recently, so I have to take a break from Demi covers. But eventually I'm gonna do I Love Me. Um, yeah, if you guys enjoyed this chat, be sure to check out my blog and my channel for more things like this. My next episode of this Real Talk Real Dancers podcast is going to be with my friend who is a Pittsburgh Ballet Theater School graduate student, and we're going to talk about what it's like to start ballet late, because that's a thing that both of us did as well. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to leave a comment down below. Again, we're both here if you want to talk. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Piper, so much for coming, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Absolutely. You're so fun.